Hello, everyone, and welcome to this latest installment of Under Construction. I am your host for the day, Jamal, the Angry Black Fan Dari. To my top left, we have Mr. Rodney Rob Pops Richardson. What's going on, brother?
Blessed and highly favored today.
All right, now, preach it, preach it, preach it. To my bottom left, we have Mr. Kaiser Sose in the building. What's going on, brother?
Football season is over, so we can focus on the more important sports.
Thank God. Thank God. And I have saved the best for last, man. We have a very special guest, but he's not even a guest at this point. He is Under Construction extended family. Mr. Danny Thompson is in the building today. What's going on, sir?
Man, I'm glad to be on the show. Too bad it's not during Panthers season, so I can jump on Rodney for his bad quarterback choices.
I mean, well, the couch should be pretty comfortable for you right now, too, Mr. Thompson. So it's not too much you can say to us.
Guys, can you help remind me who was last place in the NFC South this year?
There's something in the basement that I forgot, man, and I think it's a dead bird down there somewhere, man. Can somebody see if something's in the basement? Who was that again?
It's next to Look, it's next to the carcass of the first ballot Hall of Famer, Matt Ryan.
Wait, who said Matt Ryan was the first ballot?
Danny did.
Danny, come, bro.
Numbers don't lie,
bro. Moving on, because I'm sure our viewers do not want to hear about the Atlanta Falcons. We have more important business to discuss. You know what? We have more important business to discuss, like Dwyane Haskins visiting the Carolina Panthers, ladies and gentlemen.
And you talk about my quarterback.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the worst transition in Under Construction history, but the news is the news, and we have a duty to report it. Again, Dwyane Haskins is rumored to be visiting the Carolina Panthers as early as tomorrow. Now, it is important to note that Matt Rule actually recruited Dwyane Haskins back in the day to come play for him. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. But, guys, just give me your first thoughts on Dwyane Haskins being just coming to visit. That's all it is. Kaz, I want to start with you, man. What do you think about this?
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Hard to find words, ain't it?
I mean, I really don't. I don't understand. I understand. Okay, hold on. I do understand that Matt Rule has a rapport of some sort with Dwyane Haskins, and maybe the Panthers organization feels like they can use that rapport to kind of mold Haskins because he's been a bit of a malcontent. I mean, if you look at the history of his actions since he came into the league, and even before that, he just that's one of the reasons why he didn't work out in Washington. And although Ron Rivera is very much known as a player's coach, Dwyane Haskins seems like the kind of player that's resistant to that old school kind of coaching that Ron Rivera gives to his players. Matt Rule being a kind of newer style of players coach, maybe the Panthers feel like, okay, he could break through Dwyane Haskins. But even if that was true, is Dwyane Haskins really like what the Panthers are looking for, even as far as talent and ability level? I mean, if we're going to do that, we might as well stick with Teddy until the next big thing comes along in the draft. If they're looking for someone to kind of like push Teddy as far as a QB competition, I don't even think Dwyane Haskins could necessarily do that. Just kind of honestly, I don't even know how much substance there is to the rumor, but it's a puzzling one to me.
All right, Rodney, what you got on this particular issue, sir?
Man, look, man, I love to see a black kid get a second chance, but not with us at this point. Man, I'm just not high on Ohio State quarterbacks, and also we preach culture and building that locker room dynamic for a winning culture or whatever. How does a guy who broke protocol in the strip club like he's James Harden fit into that? I just don't know. I mean, I'm just confused by it. He showed me nothing in the 2 years that he was in Washington. So I'm just interested to see what Matt Rule sees in him. Is this a scare tactic to push Teddy? I mean, it's a bad tactic, but I don't know.
Danny, what you got, brother?
I mean, we all saw Washington. We all saw how it all fall apart. But in the defense, it's always good to kick the tires. Interviews are interviews. Seeing where a kid's head is seeing where a kid's head is. If you can even get him on your practice squad, for next season, because you already know with the way COVID has been doing, we saw the Redskins. We're looking at the NBA from a different sports perspective.
Washington football team.
I mean, I'm sorry. Though they earned their football team name last night. But you even look going back to the Rams yesterday. The Rams had to pull Jared Goff, who wasn't even ready to play, and forced him to play because their quarterback went down. So it's always good to kick the tires. I mean, the Uptown Cabaret needs extra business anyway. It's right across the stadium anyway. So
Onyx.
Yeah, but I just think, it's good to kick the tires, see what the kid has. To the guys' point earlier, he's young. He made some terrible mistakes as a decision maker. But it doesn't hurt. You're not bringing around the culture. You just want to see what the kid's head is. But yeah. I don't think that he'll be a good fit here. Let him get some time off, go play in the fan control football league or something with Johnny Manziel, and maybe we'll circle back around in about 2 years or so.
So there is one question that I have surrounding the whole Dwyane Haskins visiting the Carolina Panthers. And it's a very simple question. Why? Listen. We played the Washington football team a few weeks ago, and we all saw what Dwyane Haskins, for lack of a better term, did against the Panthers. He showed us nothing. Nothing. His quarterback rating was trash. The offense didn't really put a productive drive together. He came into the game not knowing whether he was going to be the starter or not. Then on top of all that, you have this background where Daniel Snyder was rumored to be the only one that actually even wanted Dwyane Haskins to be drafted by the Washington football team. So I go back to that question. Why do you want to bring that around the Panthers culture? Now, Danny brings up a good point. Nobody expects him to be brought here to compete with Teddy Bridgewater, or nobody expects him to be the starter going in next year. And I understand kicking the tires and just kind of seeing what you have with Dwyane Haskins. But at the same time, you have PJ Walker and you have Will Grier, who you drafted in the 3rd round. Yeah, I see your face, Rodney. But at the same time, what is that really saying? Are you kicking the tires on Will Grier? Is this a goodbye? Is this a goodbye to PJ Walker? Ultimately, what is it saying to your franchise? And again, I just don't get the why behind it. I ultimately don't get the why, except for just seeing what you got out the guy.
I mean, look, man, he's like 23, 24 years old, a former 1st-round pick. You may be able to find something in him where he can show you something where he can be a legit backup quarterback for years in the league. I mean, maybe look, in 2 years, he had 2 different coaches. I'm going to give him that. In 2 years, he had 2 different coaches. He had a toxic culture in Washington. Maybe rules stability here will be a kind of guiding light for him. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a silver lining in it.
Mike Glennon got a job. Nathan Peterman got a job. Give Dwyane Haskins a second chance.
Pretty much.
Like I say, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to bring him in, talk to him and see where his head is. You mentioned Will Grier. Is really Will Grier an option? Now, we didn't see much of PJ Walker, and when he got in the game, he was still shaky. So, it's not like Carolina has a set backup, okay?
Right.
There's nothing wrong for bringing him in to 7-on-7 OTAs because he has a great arm. That's something you can't take away. He's got a great arm. It's very live. It's just the fact of, it's kind of like Jeff George syndrome. Great arm, nothing much up top.
But I guess here's my specific question, and anybody feel free to answer this. A 3rd-round pick is an investment. And I guess, in your guys' opinion, are the Panthers ready to just give up on that investment, meaning Will Grier in particular?
Look, man, it's better to cut bait early than late.
The guy that drafted him ain't even here no more, so.
Thank you. Look, Jamal, does his name ring a bell to you? Armani Edwards?
Rings a big bell, actually. Yeah.
There are a lot of bells we could ring As far as the Panthers having to get out of the idea they're going to get some return on that investment. Bringing in Dwyane Haskins for the backup QB rotation, not a bad idea in that. It's just that in the NFL, Tigers don't change their stripes. Players are always who they are unless there has to be look at AB. Look at AB when he was with Pittsburgh and look at him now with Tampa Bay. He looks like a damn robot talking about how much he loves his quarterback because he knows he needs a job, but he's still the same crazy AB under that. And it took a long time, an entire Hall of Fame-esque career for him to get to this point. I don't know if Dwyane Haskins is just going to flip that switch overnight to suddenly being a great, mature, responsible teammate. It just doesn't happen in the NFL. If Matt Rule could work that magic, I mean that would be great. But that's more of a concern to me than his raw ability. Because like Danny said, he does have an arm. I think Dwyane Haskins does have some ability. That's why he was drafted where he was drafted. But if you don't have it up here, then it doesn't matter.
Not to try to sound like I want to coddle him in any way or make excuses for the young man, but how much of this do you believe is a kind of a result of where he landed? Again, because I want to go back to the situation with the Washington football team. Could it just be an instance where the guy just probably didn't give it his all because of the situation? Could that be a possibility? Could he just need to change the scenery?
I mean, he reminds me of PJ Hairston in a way. Drafted too close to home. Those influences are there. And coupled with your immaturity, that's just a combustible thing. That did play some type of factor in it, but I just don't know about the kid, man. It's like Kaiser said, it's just not all there.
Right.
I think in some situation, the Kaiser's point about it's kind of hard for a Tiger to change his stripes. Well, if you look at the flip side, Chris Carter went through the same thing.
Yeah,
he went through a whole bunch of issues in Philadelphia. Remember, he was almost out of the league due to drugs.
Yeah.
Then he went to Minnesota of all places. I mean, what is there to do in Minnesota? He got his life together. He flipped it around, and he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Dwyane Haskins is anywhere close to Chris Carter, but to Rodney's point, maybe a change of scenery could be the difference from him. You get him away from Washington, one of the biggest markets in the country where he's from home, get him away from all his influences, bring him down to Charlotte. It could be a different story, but also at the same time, when you look at a quarterback, everybody knew what Dwyane Haskins was at Ohio State. Every single scouting report said he is not ready to start day one. Mm-hmm. He's going to need a season or two to sit behind an experienced backup to learn the ropes of the NFL. But Dan Snyder, who is Dan Snyder, you draft him 15th overall. This kid wants to play. Gruden didn't want him. Rivera didn't want him. And we've all been on jobs where when you're not liked by somebody, it's going to be known.
Right.
He was never liked in Washington. It's weird how he was the captain of the team all of a sudden. If you're not being, you're the captain, but he wasn't liked by anybody that was there. Maybe if he goes to a place and someone shows him a little bit of love, it's a different story. He was loved at Ohio State and he threw 50 touchdowns.
Well, look at when he got drafted, though. Even his attitude, his immediate attitude, the entire league kind of descended upon him. He didn't feel like he should have been drafted as high or low as 15. And mm-hmm. I don't recall the exact statement he made, but it was something to the effect of, he was going to make these teams pay for not, all the teams that had passed on him. And then people were just kind of like, I don't know about that. You should just be happy that you're even in the NFL.
The first round money
at this point. And now those words just seem kind of hollow now because it's like, okay, we still waiting on you to make us pay, bro. If he can get rid of that, if he can just say, hey, you know what, I came in the league, I was young and stupid. He's got to do like what Chris Carter did. Hey, I was young and stupid. And Chris Carter, to be fair, his issues were far, far worse. They were drug related, and he was able to turn it around. Dwyane Haskins, I think that he's got to find that within himself rather than necessarily depend on because I think, you know, one of the things the Carolina Panthers have always had, no matter who the coaching staff was, is that locker room has always been great. Even when Steve Smith was punching people in their face and sending them to the hospital, we didn't even hear about that until years later. No one ever said, man, the Panthers locker room is so toxic. Everyone just talks about how great the locker room is, and it's probably the same thing this season. So Dwyane Haskins would be coming into a great locker room, and I think they would accept him. But if he starts acting like, hey, yeah, the league done messed up, guys. Yep, you'll be practice squad.
Yeah. One last really quick question I have concerning Dwyane Haskins. Did anybody else find it odd that Ron Rivera started Dwyane Haskins pretty much knowing he was on his way out? Did anybody find that strange at all?
No, I mean, he wanted to give him some good tape.
he wanted to build trade value.
Pretty much.
I'm really shocked. We talked about this a little bit a few weeks ago, but I'm really surprised that Dwyane Haskins started against us. Knowing what we know about Ron Rivera, like we said before, he sat Cam Newton because Cam Newton didn't wear the correct tie off the plane or something like that. But, you know, yet you're going to start Dwyane Haskins a week after he went to – oh, I'm sorry. No, that was a private birthday party for his girlfriend. That's what the official Dwyane Haskins was. At a strip club. Yeah. That's why I take my girl for her birthday. So I was really surprised on that. Ron Rivera, it could have been, he's trying to get his trade value up, or maybe he was just, hey, let's give the kid one last chance. I really do. I think it was a Dan Snyder call. I think Snyder was high on Dwyane Haskins, and I think that was his call. And I think after they really got destroyed that game somehow, then I think it was like, okay, all right, now I can let him go.
No, I kind of agree with you, man, because honestly, it's the only thing that makes sense at this point. And like I kind of see wanting to build trade value, but obviously that wasn't going to work out. There is no value with him right now. So I'm kind of with you on that, Kaza. But speaking of quarterbacks and quarterbacks who have a lot more value than Dwyane Haskins, it is rumored that Deshaun Watson is not happy with the Houston Texans. And word has came out today that he is specifically not happy with the Houston Texans because of some of their stances on social issues. Guys, we have a fan base that is, I don't want to say excited, but they are definitely interested in seeing or definitely excited about, you know, a possibility of Deshaun Watson coming to the Carolinas. Is there any credence to that? And is there any chance that the Carolina Panthers can land a Deshaun Watson? Danny, I want to hear from you first, sir.
Yeah. Are you willing to hand over the asking price? That's the question. That's the question. That's the elephant in the room. Okay. For people who think that the Houston Texans have to trade Deshaun Watson, he's under contract for the next 4 years, and he's paid very handsomely to be the quarterback. He made that decision to stay in Houston after they traded Deshaun Watson for a UGK mixtape, some chicken, and an old school Jeff Bagwell jersey. That's what they traded him for. So if you're the Panthers, are you ready to hand over 3 first-round draft picks and 2 second-rounders to get Deshaun Watson? Are you really ready to mortgage the future, knowing that you have no draft capital for the next 2 to 3 years? That's the real question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also historically, I'm racking my brain here. When was the last time, we'll say, a top 10 quarterback got traded in the NFL? It just literally never happens. What ends up happening is even the quarterbacks that are unhappy in their situation, the team just let the contracts run out, and then they become free agents and they go elsewhere. But just because quarterbacks are so valuable, they are the most valuable position on the football field besides maybe defensive end. But teams like Danny said, you've got to give up. The Panthers would have to give up a first, a second, probably DJ Moore or Christian McCaffrey, and who knows what else to get Deshaun Watson. And the question is that enough? Would that be enough to put the Panthers over the hump, considering they have a bunch of holes defensively still? Our offensive line is still made up from guys from Johnson C. Smith. We have a whole lot of. I love Johnson C. Smith. I love the Bulls, but
no disrespect to the Bulls. We love y'all.
But we have a whole lot of other holes to fill that we're going to need draft picks for. And if we get Deshaun Watson, then are we in the same situation we were with Cam Newton, where we have this high level elite talent that we just lean on his entire career until he's just broken? We could be right back in that same boat. I think the Texans are just gonna tell Watson to suck it up till his contract's up, and then we'll have to see where the chips fall then.
Hey, Kaz, you might have to watch out for Sharice, man. She's a Golden Bulls alumni, man. So just watch your back, man. Right, Rodney, what you got, bro?
Man, look, this matter could get pretty complicated. I just read that he has a no trade clause within the contract, and so he can veto a trade to any team that he doesn't want to be a part of. And so, the NFL and NBA are interesting. Like in the NBA, the players have all the power. And in the NFL, it's just like I've not really seen the players kind of test that, and so I'm just interested to see, is he willing to sit out? How bad does he want to be traded? And does this affect Houston, their ability to get free agents, quality free agents, if you don't capitulate to his demands? I mean, this is an interesting situation to me. I would love him in Carolina. I mean, he would instantly be the best quarterback we ever had in franchise history. Newsflash, that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. But man, I don't know.
Whoa, boy, you might have upset some people with that last statement.
I don't completely disagree with that statement, but that's lofty. Cam Newton at his very peak, that MVP season, was something really, really special. Now, if you're talking like long term, because I think Watson's play style is going to allow him to have a longer sustained peak than Cam Newton, then I think you'd be correct there.
I mean, if you look at Watson last year, it was almost 5,000 yards, throwing to 2015 Cam Newton level talent around him, 34 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Like, this guy is MVP level right now, and he's only going to get better from here on out. You put our weapons around him, man. It's.
I'll say this: what Deshaun Watson brings to the table with all of his attributes, not just the arm and the ability to move. I'll say he's the most talented quarterback. If the Panthers got to be the most talented quarterback in franchise history, is he the best quarterback in franchise history? To Kaz's point, listen, Cam Newton took a whole bunch of all these employees and took them to the Super Bowl. All right. He had all these Walmart employees on that offense.
Yeah, Florida State pieces.
See, I'm not going there.
2020, Florida State.
Listen, here we go. Here we go.
All I'm saying is he took back pieces and took them to the Super Bowl. He got Ted Ginn paid. Let's just be honest. Okay. Ted Ginn ran routes like Featherstone off Necessary Roughness for years. That's all he did was run 9 routes. But Cam Newton made him valuable. So that season,
9.99 seam.
Exactly. 9 route go on NCAA football on Xbox. What I'm saying is he's the most talented quarterback Carolina will ever have that they got Watson, because he has the ability to be accurate enough to throw the football. That was Cam's problem. He was never accurate. Is he worth 3 first round draft picks, 2 seconds, and probably one of your players on your defense? They're not going to take DJ Moore. They're not going to take Christian McCaffrey for all that. The real question is, are you willing to have a nucleus of Deshaun Watson, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson be the centerpiece of your team for the next 4 years? Because guess what? There'll be no draft picks in the cupboard at this point. That's the question Carolina fans.
And with that defense, we need help on the back end, linebacker. Yeah, that's.
Now, guys, with all that being said, you have obviously made great points, but here's what everybody needs to understand. And I'm not saying nothing that, anything is imminent at this point, but what we've heard from David Tepper and what we can kind of, what we can kind of understand from David Tepper is that he would be an owner who would aggressively go after what he believes is a franchise quarterback. I think if there's any owner in the NFL who would want to go after Deshaun Watson, it would be David Tepper. We saw how far he reached just to go get Will Greer in the third round, okay? He stated before that the cornerstone behind every winning franchise is a franchise quarterback. So we've seen this from David Tepper. Now, going back to the draft picks and the mortgage in the future, I'd say personally, I think David Tepper is going to go for it. I don't know if that's going to turn into us mortgage in the future or not, but I do want to get your gentlemen's thoughts on David Tepper and his aggressiveness going after Deshaun Watson. What do you foresee when it comes to that?
Man, look, man, the GM that you bring in to do all this, man, he better be a hell of a scout because you don't have that.
It's a tough job, right?
It's a tough job, man. I mean, for the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to have to put a defense that is just kind of good enough right now. I mean, look, man, first and second round picks, man, those are your anticipated starters for the next year.
You got to stick to the plan. And the plan for the Panthers appears to be we build around a solid defense and we capitalize on the pieces that we have on offense, right? Deshaun Watson, is he enough to derail that plan? Is he that good to where you say, well, hold on, let's not build up this young defense. Let's instead go after an elite tier quarterback because we think that'll get us over the hump. And as we've seen, even in our own division with the Saints and the Falcons, you can have a top tier offense. And if your defense can't keep the other team scoring 21 points, you'll have a losing record every year. I think it's more important to have that balance, or even more important, maybe to have a top tier defense.
Hey, Kaiser, what if you're up like 28-3? Do you lose those games?
In situations like that, Rodney, at least we were there. Y'all were enjoying this couch. That's all I'm saying.
I had some good wings that night. Go ahead.
I'll tell you, it's to Kaz's point, but here's the thing I have with this. If you add Deshaun Watson to the offense you already have, and you take away and you just keep the defense the way it is, Carolina's a 9 to 10 win team with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Because as much as you guys have said on this show, how much Teddy Bridgewater has made horrible decisions late in games, not being able to drive the ball down the field, not be able to make the plays. Rodney just mentioned 33 touchdowns, 4 interceptions with trash wide receivers. In Carolina's case, Carolina has 2 1,000-yard wide receivers. All right. Yeah. We saw what Deshaun Watson has done with actual real talent around him. You give him a healthy Christian McCaffrey, Carolina is a 9 to 11 win team, even in this division.
Every year.
That's what it is. But to your point, you have nothing to rebuild the defense with. And I'm not sure about Carolina's cap situation. You're not attracting free agents either. So you're going to have to be able to outscore teams. The good news is you have a top 5 quarterback that can help you outscore teams.
I'm not sure, though, if Tepper – I think Tepper would be aggressive in going after Watson because that's the kind of person he is. But historically, those things just don't work out in the NFL. They just don't because of the way that just the idea of you have 53 players on a team, you have to give up so much for players with valuable positions. We don't have a real GM right now, and that could hurt us in this because there's no one to say, well, hold on, guys. Let's sit back and take a look at the situation as a whole. You essentially have Matt Rule, who, as we stated a few weeks ago, looks like he's going to have complete control over player personnel, and whoever they bring in as a GM is just going to be the money guy. So it could just be Tepper and Matt Rule just playing fast and loose, like, hey, yeah, let's do this. And I'm not sure if that's the best thing for the Panthers right now.
Man, if only Bill O'Brien was still with the Texans, man. We could just throw those guys a 4th round pick and Teddy Bridgewater and call it a day.
Bill O'Brien, I got this nice mega head if you want it.
Just give him some Price's chicken coop, a play of grits, some Nickies, and some fish. Teddy Bridgewater in 2 7th rounds, you might have had a deal.
All right, man, God, if only Bill O'Brien was there, since he loves to give away star players, man. But anywho, we are going to switch gears and talk about my favorite team in Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets. Guys, what if I told you that last week, if we would have played Philadelphia, Atlanta twice, and the Pelicans, and I told you that we would go 3-1, how many of you would believe me? Raise your hand. Nobody. That's exactly what happened last week. The Charlotte Hornets go 3-1. Gordon Hayward averages 25 points a game, and LaMelo Ball almost had 2 triple doubles, but he did score 1 last night. Guys, please share your pleasant thoughts about the Charlotte Hornets from last week, man.
If anyone had a thought that at this point in the season, the Hornets would be 500, they're probably untrustworthy. They're probably a liar. I don't want to hear what they got to say.
So they have no integrity whatsoever, huh?
There was a point where I looked at the schedule and was like, we might not win a single game out of this. And here we are sitting at 5-5 with all of our wins coming against teams at least 500 or better, with the exception of the win against Atlanta last night, who was a 500 team until we beat them Wednesday night. So, you know, as the Hornets play, it looks like they're getting that chemistry, which is so important to an NBA team, especially a team where we have, you know, so many new pieces, 2 major new pieces, Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball. You know, we went from a 10-man rotation down to a 9-man rotation. We kind of know, okay, these are the guys that are going to produce for us, and here's how they play together. And we're starting to see that come to fruition. I don't make a big deal over us losing the lead in games that we won because, guys, this is the NBA. In fact, I'll do the work for you so you don't have to. But if you go back and look at 15-plus point leads in the NBA over the last decade, they don't mean anything because of the 3-point shot. Teams can just come back. Teams blow leads all the time. What's important is that you finish those games, and that's what they did last night and against Atlanta. When it was crunch time, guys took big shots and made them, and we were able to win those games. I wasn't expecting us to beat Philly, not twice. I mean, Philly is just a really, really good team. They're a better team than the Hornets, and I felt like we were competitive enough in that game. But I feel like they had a really good game plan against Atlanta. They essentially shut down Trae Young in 2 straight games. Also, when you play a team twice in a very close time interval, something that I don't like. I understand the scheduling this season because of COVID, but typically the team that lost the first matchup has an advantage in the second matchup because they can look at the tape and make proper adjustments. Atlanta said, okay, here's what they're doing to Trae Young. They're running this matchup zone and they tried the adjustments and the game was a little bit closer, but the Hornets were still able to prevail because they in turn made their own adjustments. So it's like from top to bottom, from the coach to the players, we're starting to see a little bit of consistency, some chemistry, and I think the Hornets are going to be better than a lot of people thought they were. Still don't know if they're going to quite be a playoff team, but I think they're ahead of a schedule, actually, with LaMelo and with just the development of the team as a whole. We still got to figure out the whole Devontae Graham, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier situation. I know what my thoughts are on that. We'll get to that, but that's what I think about last week.
Danny,
with being around the team all week, you know, with the Philadelphia game, they've lost 13 in a row to Philadelphia. All right, Philadelphia owns Charlotte at this point.
Hey, hold on, real quick. We've been cursed ever since Nick Batum guaranteed we beat the 76ers 3 years ago.
Let that man live.
No, Danny, we will not. He's the gift that keeps on giving. No, we will never let him live. No.
Go
ahead, sir.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. But remember, Jordan decided to stretch that contract out. All right. No one put a gun to Nick Batum's head and told him to take $120 million.
Hey, Hey, no one put a gun to his head and decided to not like basketball anymore, Danny. No one decided to put a gun in that man's head and guarantee victory against the 76ers. Nobody put a gun to that man's head and told him to brick a game-winning shot off the side of the backboard. I don't want to hear it. Nick Batum is responsible for his own suckiness. You will not suck Michael Jordan into Nick Batum's suckiness. Go ahead, sir.
Look, man, look.
Michael Jordan cut the check, sir.
Nick Batum's last 2 years, he had a dad bod in Charlotte. That's all I got to say.
But also, he was told not to play either. So there's a difference. When you're told to stay away, when you're told you're not going to play, you're told just to basically sit there and collect a contract. It happens in the NBA. There was no trade value. They wasn't going to be able to trade him until this year. It is what it is. Hornets fans have to get over it. All right? It's
never forget. Like 9/11. Never forget. Nope.
Well,
sorry.
Listen,
ahead,
you blame Rich Cho. I
blame Rich Cho.
I will. I can do that. Yeah.
Listen, Rich Cho didn't step up to Michael Jordan and say this is kind of a bad idea. And to say, but let's go back to something that's at hand. The team this week. All right, the Philadelphia game. They weren't going to beat Philadelphia. It's just that Philadelphia has something over Charlotte that we it is what it is. 13 straight games. The last time I think 2016 was the last time the Hornets beat the Sixers in an actual game. It is what it is. But if you look at the rest of the week, the Atlanta game on Wednesday really triggered because of what Chris Karchner wrote in The Athletic about John Collins, Trae Young having that discussion during a video session where John Collins called out Trae Young for shooting the ball too early in the shot clock, basically dominate the possessions. We saw that on Wednesday where Trae only took 9 shots.
Yeah.
He was so out of it on Wednesday. All right. Charlotte got lucky on that one because Atlanta had their worst first quarter of the season, scored 11 points. Atlanta scores 34 in the first quarter all season. Led the NBA going into that game. All right. They play outstanding defense on Wednesday. Friday in the ball versus ball matchup, that might have been Charlotte's best second half of the entire season. Not only did Coach Borrego told us in post game about resiliency, Charlotte fought back after getting punched in the face for 24 minutes. That first half, Charlotte couldn't hit anything. Zion was doing what he wanted to in the interior, and Charlotte just couldn't hit shots. The third quarter, they hit 9 threes in the third quarter, and the game just changed because they started playing defense. Once they realized, and we saw this in the first, I'd say 8.5 games, when Charlotte got down 10 points any game this season, they couldn't get the lead under 10. Mm-hmm. They would get it right around 12, 11, maybe even 10, but they couldn't crack that 10-point barrier. When they cracked that 10-point barrier and the shots start going in, you saw a different Charlotte team at that point. LaMelo was pushing the tempo. The guys were knocking shots down, and you see the fun factor. It transitioned into last night. Listen, last night looked like the beginning of the New Orleans game. John Collins was doing what he wanted to PJ Washington. But the difference was PJ decided, okay, I'm going to take this to a whole new level. I'm going to block shots and also redirect the game. And that changed it.
What do you think woke PJ Washington up? Because it was like an awakening in the second half of PJ Washington.
I had a chance to ask my question last night. You know, one of the things JB had mentioned to him all season was work on not just blocking shots, but rim protection.
Right.
And PJ said he's taken a humongous pride about blocking shots. He loves blocking shots. And he said, I asked him last night because not only did those 6 block shots lead to something, it led to his best offensive game of the entire season.
Right.
I mean, a game where he literally, as a stat guy, he filled the stat sheet. And what I say by that is he was 7, I think, for 13 from the floor. He knocked down 2 or 4 from the 3-point line, and he also got to the line 6 times. So he was scoring on all 3 levels last night.
And I don't mean to cut you off, man, but there is something I specifically wanted to ask you about since you are covering the team, man. I've been critical of PJ Washington as a playmaker because I heard him and Borrego kind of make mention of him being more of a playmaker offensive end, and I'm not a big fan of it personally, man. What do you think? And Rodney, I'm going to get to you in a second, man, but I do want to ask Danny this question first, man. What do you think of PJ Washington as a playmaker, and what do you think Borrego kind of thinks of that too?
Well, remember, PJ was a point guard before he hit his growth spurt, so he does have playmaking ability. This is the fact of because of Gordon Hayward, because of LaMelo Ball, and for as much as we'll jump on Devontae Graham shooting, Devontae's been a playmaker. Okay, he's getting assists left and right. I think he's had 2 double-digit assist games this season. I think he had 8 on Wednesday. I think last against New Orleans. He's been playmaking, and we know what Terry Rozier does. PJ's job now that Cody is out and it's only Biyombo is more about protecting the rim than making plays at this point. And
Right.
it shows. If you look at the numbers, last season PJ played 58 games. They had 2 games where he had 3 blocks or more in a game. He's done that 3 times in 14 days this season. He had 6 last night. So I think he's taking a little bit more of a role of, I've got to protect the rim, because when we saw Biyombo get in foul trouble, they had nothing left in there.
Right.
So I think he's much more of working on the interior game and basically being the post presence than being a playmaker, which is fine because Charlotte has enough playmakers already.
Gotcha. So basically, it just confirms everything I've thought about him as a playmaker. He needs to be focusing on other things besides handling the ball.
But he can do it when he's needed.
Gotcha.
To.
All right,
So,
Rodney, what are your thoughts on the Hornets this week, brother?
Man, Gordon Hayward showed his worth this past week, man. Like his stabilizing presence kind of helps calm this young team down. And that was on display in Atlanta. He had a terrific first half against the Hawks. It was 25 points the first half.
Yeah.
And then that second half, the third quarter was kind of rough. And in the fourth quarter, they went to him to close out the game. And he showed why Mitch and MJ wanted to bring him in here. I got a question for you guys. Since to a lot of people, LaMelo Ball is ahead of schedule as far as the impact he would have on the game now, do you think Mitch and MJ kind of goes for it next year and does a big splash in free agency just to kind of speed up that timeline?
No.
You don't think so?
They did this before, and you saw what happened. They spent money on a 6th-place team, and we saw what happened. It got Jamal being angry about Nick Batum.
Damn right. Yep. Damn right.
Remember, that team, they spent not only just on Batum, they spent on Zeller, they spent on Kid Gilchrist, they opened up the checkbook for a team that was a 7th or 8th place team. They
pulled a Jerry Richardson when he paid D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. They pulled a Jerry Richardson that year.
So this is my pushback. I would say the supporting cast now is better than Zeller, MKG, Young Biyombo, and everybody like that. So that's just kind of my pushback.
There was a 6th place playoff team that year. This Hornets team,
the East was worse back then too. Okay,
but remember, we're 10 games into a season here from a team that won 23 games the season before that. Let's not sit here and try to microwave. Let's not treat the Hornets like a hot pocket. All right, let's not try to get this thing done in 2 minutes. All right, let the team build. One thing Charlotte have been asking for years, and the fan base has asked for, is potential cap space. All right, they finally got out of it. When Zeller's contract is up at the end of the season, Charlotte will have technically money to spend in the offseason. Let's not go out and try to microwave this process. It's great to have LaMelo Ball. But remember, you still got to pay Devontae Graham. You still got to pay PJ Washington. And what are they going to do with Miles Bridges at this point? There are more things you got to worry about than going out and trying to attract a star player. It's great to see LaMelo Ball. It is. It's great. It's just at this point, we're only 10 games into the season. What happens if Charlotte goes on a 6 or 7 game losing streak, for example? Then the fan base is going to start calling for James Borrego's job at this point. Let's get through this 4 games this week. Charlotte has 4 days off after that, and then let's reevaluate. Let's take it week by week at this point.
I think it depends on who's going to be available and how realistic the chances are of landing that person. The big need left for Charlotte is you do need a true center. The small ball experiment is actually working better than a lot of us would like to admit. The last 3 games, the Hornets are 6th in the league in defensive rating against the Hawks and the Pelicans. That's very bad. That's not bad. That's very, very telling. And as Danny just spoke about, PJ is starting to gel into that, that role of having to play the 5. But having said that, I think we'd all feel a lot more comfortable if we had even, I hate to even say this, but someone like Hassan Whiteside, who is now cheap. I know, guys. I know. I'm not Hassan Whiteside.
We did the same thing.
But if you got a guy that could get you easy inside buckets, that can rebound to take some of the rebounding pressure off, because we actually have some decent rebounders. LaMelo Ball is the best rebounder on the team, probably because he's taller than Bismack. Gordon Hayward's actually a pretty good rebounder. Miles Bridges is very active around the board. So if you got a guy that can take some of the pressure off those so that the Hornets can get back in transition, that's probably the last big hole the Hornets need to fill. And I think if there's a possibility to do that, then you look into that. But at the same time, there's no reason to microwave it. I like the way the team is building and developing at this pace. And when they brought in James Borrego, that was the main thing, player development. We want someone who can develop our pieces. And people can say whatever they want about Borrego, okay? But the guy can develop players. And maybe LaMelo Ball could have got drafted by any other team and has done what he has done in this first 10 games. But the fact is, he's doing it with Charlotte. Borrego has slowly, incrementally added to his playing time, and more importantly, his situational playing time. Don't look at just the minutes that he's playing. Look at when he's playing. How Borrego will give him a breather so that he can be in the game late in the fourth quarter to make those impact plays. That's what's important, and that is how you develop a talent like LaMelo Ball. So we got to give the coach some credit for that. I think I'm happy with the way the team is coming along.
Kaiser, speak. Rodney, go ahead, sir.
So the reason why I asked that question, man, I mean, call me a fearmonger or whatever, but I'm looking at it like we're in a small market, and it's rare that we get a talent like LaMelo Ball, and so we're always kind of on the clock. And you get where I'm coming from, right?
I thought about that last night because there's going to be a point in time where if the Hornets aren't a good team, then the talk's about, well, where's LaMelo going next? Now, LaMelo is pretty much, he's locked in with us for a long time because we have the team.
At least 8 years.
It's going to be a long time before LaMelo Ball is not a Charlotte Hornet. But those conversations will happen if the Hornets don't get good in a accelerated amount of time, and I just hate for those conversations to happen.
Is 10 games enough to say let's go out and trade the franchise?
No. Look, man, look.
But hold on. To Calvin's point, my Whiteside is only playing 13 minutes a game right now. He's not doing. He can't even crack Sacramento's rotation. All right.
But he would start for us, right?
He wouldn't. The thing is,
Whiteside?
No, he wouldn't.
No,
it doesn't fit.
You wouldn't start Whiteside over Biombo.
I wouldn't start Whiteside for Hunter Hus High School. No, I would not. Okay,
look, that boy's a head case.
Listen, Whiteside doesn't fit what Charlotte is trying to do with the smaller ball idea. If you wouldn't say you got a guy like Montrezl Harrell or Serge Ibaka, I would understand that because it fits what they're trying to do. When I say Michael in the process, Hornets fans are asking about Andre Drummond. He doesn't fit what they're trying to do
at all.
He doesn't
at all.
Charlotte doesn't need a low post player if you're going to run. If they're going to run this small ball, go get a Draymond Green type of power forward center, and let's call this a day. A guy that's going to impact the rim at some kind of way. For example, Brandon Clark. If Charlotte would have had a Brandon Clark, for example, in Memphis, it's the perfect type of fit. A 6'8", 6'9" guy that's very long and blocks shots. That type of player is what you want at a 5. Not a big slow down center. And that's why I'm starting to wonder about Vernon Carey at this point. Yeah. Vernon's going to have to lose weight. And the thing is, he's lost 30 pounds. Nick Richards might actually have a better chance of getting playing time going down the road than Vernon Carey, even though Carey's better offensively.
Is this why we've seen a little more of Nick Richards than Vernon Carey? I mean, it hasn't been much, but, you know.
I mean, it's when you're trying to be an up-tempo team, you're trying to play smaller ball, you're going to need a guy that's flexible to do different things. Right. An ideal type of center for this is a Tyson Chandler type of center. Okay, you need a guy.
Not Tyson Chandler, though. Let's make that very clear.
Tyson Chandler. I'll change it. A Jared Allen type of center. Okay? A guy that can,
a young DeAndre Jordan.
Because you want somebody hitting free throws down the stretch of games. So, okay, you want a guy that's going to protect the paint and is athletic. You know, you want a guy that can do those things. Whiteside can't do that. Whiteside, he's a great rebound and great shot blocker, but he won't be able to do the little things that Borrego will be asking for. And Borrego's hair would be great.
Time out. You just said he won't be able to do the little things that Borrego wants. kind of like a former center who could block shots and rebound here, right? Right? Kind of like a guy who used to play center here, who didn't do the little things, which ended up getting him traded ultimately, right?
I mean, listen, call it what it is.
Okay, I was just making sure.
It's just that Biombo is not the answer at center, and I understand Cody Zeller is injured, but Biombo is not aware enough to for what the Hornets need at the center. He's not like even a really good rebounder, mainly because he's undersized. But like LaMelo Ball can't be the best rebounder on the team. That's just not that is not sustainable.
Russell Westbrook was for years
going forward. Where'd that get them?
They got to the playoffs every year.
Like second round exits. I mean, if that's the ceiling we want for someone like LaMelo Ball, who has all the talent in the world. I mean, I just don't think that's that sustainable. You have to take that pressure off of your guards. The responsibility shouldn't be on those guys to get the rebounds. If they're active on the boards like LaMelo is, then that's great for your team. But really, you got to have a guy like too many times Clint Capella is surrounded by 4 Hornets, and he's tipping the ball to himself. He's just playing tip drill with himself till he gets the offensive rebound and scores again. The Hornets got to be able to. I think that's the last hole that they really need to fill.
Whiteside won't fill that. Whiteside won't fill that part. But continue. I digress.
All right, but moving on from centers, guys, we have to ask this question because it is the hot topic for this week. It is a question that the fan base wants to discuss ad nauseum. I don't even really want to go here, but I feel like we have to, just out of necessity. Guys, the fan base wants James Borrego's head because he is not starting their favorite player, which I think is ridiculous. So, but I have to ask the question, guys. Does LaMelo Ball need to be a starting point guard for the Charlotte Hornets right now? Who wants to take this one first?
I'll start.
Rodney, go ahead, sir.
It's 10 games into the season. Devontae Graham kind of has earned the equity to kind of figure this out. If Borrego made that decision to start LaMelo, I wouldn't be mad at it. I mean, it's justified in the way that he's played. But I mean, honestly, I'm more concerned about who finishes the game. If I'm LaMelo, I'd rather finish the game and be the closer than worry about starting. I mean, hey, look at the bright side. LaMelo can win 6th Man of the Year and Rookie of the Year.
I'm more concerned with LaMelo's overall minutes, which we've seen go up slowly and compared to Devontae's minutes, rather than whether or not he starts. There was I don't know if it was the Atlanta game Wednesday or the Pelicans game, but Devontae Graham had 39 minutes and LaMelo Ball only had like 24. And I thought that was too big of a gap considering how well LaMelo was playing, whereas a week before they both played 29 minutes each, and I felt like that was a good split. It is a different team when LaMelo Ball's on the floor. That I don't think there's any question.
It's undeniable. At this point,
having Ball starts, I think, resolves that issue the Hornets have with slow starts. That would be, I think, the best argument for LaMelo Ball starting. Having said that, though, that energy that comes from the second unit when he comes in the game is a welcome rush of momentum for the Hornets sometimes. And it's like, do you really want to mess with that chemistry? At the same time, Devontae Graham is a streaky offensive player. There are a lot of other things he can do on the court to impact the game, but offensively, when he's off, if his shot's not falling, you don't get a whole lot from him offensively. And a lot of times that is a role that is better for someone coming off the bench because when he's hot, if he's hot and he's coming off the bench hot, then you're going to get a microwave player. And that's a decision I'm glad I don't have to make. If Borrego decides to start LaMelo, I'm behind it. If he decides, no, I kind of want to keep this train rolling how it is and then slowly increase LaMelo's minutes, I'd be good with that as well.
Danny, what you got?
No, I've said it on my show. I've said it on the post game show that I host on after each home game. No, it's not time to start him. The Hornets have won 3 consecutive games with the way they're doing. To Kaz's point, I think you would want to see LaMelo play more minutes. But here's a newsflash. LaMelo's not a very good free throw shooter either. Okay, so those last 2 minutes of games, as people say, why is Borrego taking him out and bringing Miles in, swapping him out? You don't want Ball nowhere near a free throw line. That's what you don't want him to do at this point. If he wants to become a guy at the end of games, he's going to have to hit free throws. And to the point of LaMelo changes the game in so many ways, like Kaza said, you want that energy coming off the bench because Charlotte is horrible starting games. We've all seen this. They are just flat out bad.
Right.
But when LaMelo comes to the game, it's a different type of energy. And I think he makes Miles Bridges play better. The Martin twins play better. And guess what? It's okay to come off the bench. Coming off the bench doesn't mean you're worthless. Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford have changed that role and that the way you think about it. Those guys played more minutes than starters did. We saw it last night. LaMelo and Graham played right around 31, 32 minutes apiece. All right. LaMelo's minutes are going to increase. But I also think you can't send Devontae to the bench right now. If his confidence is low and he's not hitting shots,
it's going to be shattered if you bring him to the bench.
You're going to shatter him by sending him to the bench. We all know eventually that the starting lineup is going to have LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier together. It's eventually going to happen. But let's not force Devontae to the bench. Like Rodney said, last year, everybody in Charlotte was saying Devontae Graham was the best thing walking on this roster. Now we're 10 games of the season. We're talking about throwing this guy on the bench here.
Right.
You know,
right.
The guy was top 5 in 3-pointers made last season. We all know he has to have the ball in his hands. It's only been 10 games. Let him get used to it. What we saw in the New Orleans game, I think he had 17 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had 8 assists. All right. He was affecting the game in so many different ways. People forget he is actually a good playmaker on the court. Yeah. It's okay for LaMelo to come off the bench. What we want to see more of is what we saw at the beginning stages of the Atlanta game. We saw it in the New Orleans game. We saw it a lot in the fourth quarter last night, is having Ball with Graham and Rozier on the court with Hayward. That's what we want to see more of because that stretches the defense out. What hurt Atlanta was and what hurt New Orleans was when Charlotte went to that lap in the fourth quarter, Zion, Capella, Collins, nobody can figure out how to guard that because if PJ's at the 5, PJ can shoot the 3 as well too. With Miles is what we're not talking about is Miles Bridges has gotten better behind the 3-point line.
Yeah.
And with Miles being a much better 3-point shooter, that means you have 4 guys on the court that you legitimately have to guard behind the 3-point line with LaMelo Ball being LaMelo Ball. That's the part we want to see more of. I'm not worried about the minutes. LaMelo is a kid still. He's 19 years old. What we do have here is, and I've said this, I think I tweeted this last night, every time LaMelo grabs the rebound, I promise you, I see Jason Kidd in the Dallas Mavericks uniform taking that rebound down and just going down the court.
Hey, Danny, real quick. Speaking of that in particular,
I need to get some credit.
Hey, man, there was a play where I think it was the last Atlanta game where LaMelo Ball, he effected a shot, number one. Then he grabbed a rebound and he dribbled down court and he dished it to Gordon Hayward for a 3. Man, I fell in love. Like hearts was like around my head, man. It was like the most beautiful thing I had like ever seen with the Hornets this season, man. And to your point, I saw that vision of a Jason Kidd because that's what Jason Kidd used to do. And I saw that in that one particular play, man. But go ahead, man.
But there was one even before that one. I want to say it was the Atlanta game. I think it was the first quarter where there was 2 possessions where LaMelo had the ball. One where he went behind his back and did the layup. The second one where Devontae was standing in his regular corner by the 3-point line. Gordon Hayward was on the wing. LaMelo dribbles to the middle of the paint, looks directly at Devontae.
Yep.
And lasers the pass over to Hayward.
Hayward, yeah.
I was like, yo, where he come from?
And he knocks down a 3-pointer. That's the type of stuff LaMelo Ball does. And I know Hornets fans want to see him starting. I know that. We all do. But maybe right now, it's just better for him to be that guy off the bench, playing 34, 35 minutes a night off the bench, doing what he does, and Charlotte wins. You just can't kill Devontae at this point because if he goes to the bench, and newsflash, Hornets fans, you can't trade him. His contract is nothing.
He makes like $2 million a year.
Less than that. The Hornets are in the same situation with Devontae Graham the Lakers were with Kyle Kuzma. When the Lakers when they got Anthony Davis, they refused to give Kyle Kuzma any deal. Why? Not because of his talent level. It's because Kyle Kuzma made $1.6 million. The Lakers can't trade Kyle Kuzma for Derrick Rose. The contracts are too big. The Hornets can't move Devontae Graham. Not because he's talented, but you get way more value what he gives to the floor than what his salary is. You're not trading Terry Rozier because Rozier, let's be honest with you, he's been the best player the Hornets have had all season.
Mm-hmm.
I think consistently wise. Now Hayward's been phenomenal the last 6 or 7 games. Hayward's now become the closer. Terry Rozier is the best spot shooter we have. So why would you trade Rozier when you got LaMelo Ball out there? There's no way you're going to trade a guy that can knock down shots with a point guard that can get you the ball in your hand. So just stay the way they are. Stay the course. We're not. Listen, just stay the course.
Danny, got a quick question. What happens with Malik Monk?
Bye.
Listen, the Martin twins have passed him in the rotation. All right, it's that simple. Malik Monk's not playing.
Last night I was watching Caleb Martin, and I'm thinking, is Malik Monk really better than Caleb Martin?
Caleb Martin, you're going to put Caleb, and this is the Monk. This is for Monk fans. Caleb Martin is shooting 54% from the floor, 37% from the 3-point line,
and obviously he's a better defender. Let's not forget that.
Well, I mean, he attempts to play defense. Anything Monk has been like basically Monk can't guard any one of us. At Hornets.
Look, I'll post him up. I got all his girth.
You sound like LeVar Ball, but yeah.
And the thing is, and Monk's in the final year of his contract, and people have asked me a lot of where can he go. I've always said, and this sounds like an interesting idea, call Sacramento. You got a disgruntled guy who was a top 3 pick who is frustrated. You bring him here. You send Vernon Carey that way as well, too. You send Carey and Monk, and you go get Marvin Bagley.
Man,
all right,
look, Danny, it's going to take more than Malik and Vernon Carey for Marvin Bagley.
And now he's a free agent, and he's going to walk out the door in the end of the season. He walks. Both players walk in.
I wonder though if Monk's trade value is so low because we know that teams wanted Monk last season and even the season before. His name would always come up in trade talks, and the Hornets were like, nah. But then now, well, he's been out of the drug program, and now we don't have a spot for him on a rotation. And I wonder if other GMs are like, oh, so now you want to trade him? No, I don't think so, Charlotte.
I think with the whole batch of COVID going around the league, as we just watched last 3 days, we saw the Sixers literally forced to play 7 players,
right?
Because they had to dress Ben Simmons and Embiid, even though they were out. We're watching what's going to happen with Boston today after the whole Jason Tatum contract situation, and they're going to have probably 8 players on the roster today. There's going to have to come to a point where either Adam Silver extends these rosters or guys that aren't playing that actually have talent will get traded. It's going to come to this point. And I'm just really more concerned about what happens in Orlando in the bubble with the G League and who's going down there than what Malik Monk's going to bring to the table. Because I think you can trade Malik Monk. Listen, if Al Horford got traded with that contract and Blake Griffin's been traded and Russell Westbrook got traded twice, anybody in this league can trade it at this point. So
yeah,
it's going to take the right off.
Guys, we're up against it. I just want to share a really, really quick thought about LaMelo Ball and him starting his minutes. Hornets fans, I want you to realize Anthony Edwards is averaging about 26 minutes a game. The almighty James Wiseman is averaging about 20 minutes a game. Let me repeat that. James Wiseman is averaging 20 minutes a game. LaMelo Ball is averaging 24 minutes a game. Why do I bring that up? Because what's being lost in this conversation is that when you are a rookie in the NBA, this is a marathon and not a sprint. The NBA is a different type of grind. So it cannot be understated that you have to bring these rookies along a little slower than fans want them to. You don't want them hitting that wall earlier than they need to. So please just kind of keep that in perspective when you are calling for James Borrego's job next month because he's not playing LaMelo Ball 40 minutes a game. I want to share one last thought because, again, we're up against time before we get to shout-outs. I just want to share one last thought. If, and I do mean if, because I'm not predicting this is going to happen. I'm not into predictions. I don't know how the season is going to turn out, okay? But if Gordon Hayward somehow makes the Eastern Conference All-Stars this year, a lot of y'all are going to get this work. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm coming for next.
Listen, Gordon Hayward is never going to be worth the contract, $30 million, blah, blah, blah. But just if if he somehow ends up on that all-star roster, y'all gonna catch this work. I just want to put that out there. But anyway, guys, we're up against time. Shout outs or shout ats or parting shots. Danny, you're the guest. Go first, sir.
Guys, first and foremost, give you guys a shout out for bringing me on today. I love coming on here. Of all the shows and podcasts I do on a regular basis, this is my favorite.
Thank you, man.
First off, you guys are all local. I support everything you guys do in your different industries. So that's my first shout out to you guys. Shout outs also as well to the 3pointconversion.com. Check out everything we do over there. We have daily, if you go on our YouTube page, we have daily things with the Charlotte Hornets. Like every single press conference throughout the day, shoot-arounds, post-game. We have all that content there. I cover the team on a daily basis, so anything I do is over there on that. Also, check out the Hornets post-game show. Like, I know the guys don't do post-game shows because by the time it's all past their bedtimes anyway. I'm on pretty much every single night after talking Hornets for every single game. As soon as the media lets us out, I go live. So check me out at hapstv.com. And like I said, it's always a pleasure being on you guys' show. And
hey, quick thing, Danny. Number one, Danny, man. We appreciate the word so much, man. Seriously, dude. It's always good to have a dude like you support us, man. Number two, it's past Kaiser and Rodney's bedtime. I'm still up. I'm still up if you need a guest. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But guys, go ahead, man.
I'll give a shout at to whoever hires Joe Brady for a head coaching position.
You stole some of my thunder.
Why? Did you guys not watch any Panthers games? Eric Bieniemy is probably the most qualified. I just don't. I mean, I do understand. I mean, we all know.
Keep Brady away from Atlanta. That's all I'm saying. Keep Brady away from Atlanta.
Yeah. So, well, the news is that the Jets are like all in on Joe Brady. So
have at it. Please go ahead.
Yeah. That's just puzzling to me. It's just really puzzling to me. I don't get it. So shout out to whoever hires that guy instead of Eric Bieniemy.
It's the Jets. What more do you want to say?
Exactly. Yeah. There's no more to be said. Right. Rodney, what you got, bro?
I got two. I'm gonna give a shout out to you guys. Everybody here, man. I talk to y'all every day, man. Y'all are good friends. Much love. Man, let me give a shot to those assholes this past week that
stole my thunder.
Ran a coup and tried to take over the Capitol building. Hey, man, the 20th can't get here fast enough. That's all I got to say. The 20th can't get here fast enough. Jamal, you go ahead and expound more on it.
No, I don't know if I want to at this point, honestly, man.
I really was going to dive into it.
No, because Rodney just gave the LaMelo alley-oop. Miles, go ahead and finish it. All
right, okay. Well, since let me go ahead and dunk this shit real quick, man. Shout out to anyone in America who still wants to excuse or coddle anyone who is defending these assholes who went to the Capitol and started an insurrection in the name of white supremacy. Damn it, I'm not playing around. I don't care how you feel. I don't care if it's controversial. I don't care at this point. We are in way too much of a critical time in American history to keep coddling this shit. It is beyond logic. White supremacy is beyond logic. So don't look for logic when you're trying to figure out why these people are going to the damn capital of the United States and doing this kind of shit. It is beyond coddling at this point, and I am tired of trying to have civil discussions about it. So shout at to America. Joe Biden came out and said, this is not who we are. Yes, the hell it is. And it needs to be. That's it. I don't have any more to say, man. Anybody else?
Man, look, also, man, look, we're not applauding those people who resigned this week. Y'all are still cowards. Plain and simple.
They put a 2-week notice in.
Like you weren't so appalled. You're going to be out of job in 2 weeks anyways. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. A shout at to my military veteran pals who also support such foolishness. You know, whatever people's thoughts are about the military people, this is what you were supposed to be fighting against. And, you know, we defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. When you take the oath, that is what it says, foreign and domestic. So when I hear that a former Air Force combat veteran lost her life because she wanted to be a rebel, in
the famous words of the about to be former president, it is what it is. Guys, thank y'all for coming on the show, man. Fellas in the chat room, we always appreciate y'all. Next week, hopefully we don't have to do any of these kind of shout outs, man. Hopefully we can just talk about basketball and the Hornets having a perfect week next week.
They gotta beat the Knicks. Beat the
damn Knicks, please, so I don't have to hear this from my Knicks friends, man. Guys, appreciate y'all, man.
Always.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.